concept which we are going to study now is about the circular flow of income of an economy. So, let us understand as to what is the meaning of circular flow and how this money flows into an economy. So, to study this concept, we must understand about certain assumptions which we take into consideration. To start with, suppose there are only two sectors in an economy, that is the household sector as well as an producers. And household sectors, they are the owner of factors of productions. Which are the factors of production? Land, labor, capital as well as organization. So, households are the owners of the factors of productions like land, labor, capital as well as organization, and the producers, in return they are rewarding for these factors of production as rent, wages, interest as well as profit. So, when we speak about a circular flow of an economy, this can be explained with the help of a diagram. You can see in this diagram here, this shows the household sector and this shows the firm. So, it is a closed economy. In this economy, in this closed economy, there are only two sectors we have taken. They are not doing any saving, not even a single saving is being done by the household as well as the firms. So, what the households will do? The households, they are producing the commodities, and they, whatever money they have, they spend this money. The households will spend the money to buy the goods and services. The households are buying the goods and services. They buy these goods and services from the firm. They go to the firm and they purchase these commodities from them. On the other hand, we have a firm. They are making the payments for whatever services which is being produced by the households. The households, they are producing the commodities, they are producing the goods and services and to the firm, and in return to that, the firm is making the payments to the households sector in the form of rent, wages, interest as well as profit. We have already studied about it that the household sectors, that there are four factors of production. Which are the four factors of production? Land, labor, capital as well as organization are considered as the four factors of production. So, when we are speaking about these four factors of production, that is land, labor, capital as well as organization, these four factors of production, they get the reward in the form of rent, wages, interest and profit. So, in this circular flow of an economy or this economy, it is a closed economy and there is no savings. So, what is the meaning of that? It says that whatever goods which are produced by the households will buy those commodities and they will spend the entire money. Whatever money they have, they go to the firm and they buy those commodities from the firm, and firm also in return to the commodities which is being produced by the household, they make the factor payments. The firm will make the factor payment or they will provide the factor services to the household. So, whatever work which is being done by the household, the firms will make the payment to the firms, to the households. So, this way the economy is functioning, which is called as a circular flow of economy, a very simple economy wherein we find that there are only two sectors, that is the household as well as the firm, and they are working together. Whatever the households are producing, they are going to the firm and they are producing it and they are spending the entire money for whatever commodity that is being produced by them, and the firm also makes a payment to the household in the same form as a reward to the factors of production. The next concept which we have to study is about inventory. What is the meaning of inventory and what do we understand by inventory? So when we speak about inventory, inventory is nothing but the stock of unsold and finished goods. Some finished goods, every firm in an organization, they are producing some commodities. So when these commodities are produced by the firms are keeping some stock of this finished goods, and it can be a raw material, it can be an unfinished goods also. It can be in all these forms. Either it can be an unfinished goods, or it can be in the form of a raw materials, or it can be in the form of the finished goods. So these finished goods are not sold by the firm. Please remember, the firm is not selling these commodities, the firm is keeping this stock of commodity which is called as inventory. So I am reminding once again, what is the meaning of inventory? Inventory is nothing but a stock of finished goods which the firms are keeping with them. Every firm in an organization, they keep a certain stock of a finished goods which they are not selling, which they are keeping with them. So it can be classified into two: unplanned accumulation and deaccumulation of inventories. So these inventories can be unplanned. The firm has not planned when it is keeping a stock of these inventories. Suppose when we speak about the unplanned accumulation of inventories, it means that unexpected fall in the sales. The firm has expected to sell more, but the sale is not done accordingly as the firm has expected. That is the meaning of unplanned accumulation. That means the stock is accumulated. The firm has expected to sell more. The firm has not planned, it has expected that it is going to sell more, but it is not sold more, and so there is a fall in the sales of an output. The production which is being done by the firm is not able to sell that. That is called as an unplanned accumulation of inventories. For example, we can take an example that a firm is producing a t-shirts. Now when a firm is producing a t-shirt, it is already having an inventory of 100 t-shirt with them. The firm has the inventory, meaning of inventory is the unsold stock. The stock that the firm already had was 100 t-shirt which was remaining with it. And without planning, the firm, it is unplanned inventories, means the firm has planned something, but it is not come as per the expectations of the firm. So the firm has expected to sell around 1000 t-shirts. The firm has produced 1000 t-shirts and it had expected that around 1000 t-shirts will be sold also. But actually in reality only 600 t-shirts are sold in the market. So when we are studying about an unplanned accumulation of inventories, the inventories are getting accumulated, the inventories are remaining with the firm. The firm has produced 1000 t-shirts, but the firm is able to sell only 600 t-shirts. It already had 100 t-shirts with them as an inventory, which was there. This stock was already there with the firm. So it has expected to sell 1000 t-shirts, but it has actually sold 600 t-shirts. So there is an increase in inventories. That means when we minus from 1000 to 600, we get 400 t-shirts are in the stock of inventories with the firm, plus the firm already had this 100 t-shirts with them. This 100 t-shirt, it was had the old stock, and the new stock of the unsold t-shirts are 500. So total t-shirts that the firm is left with the inventories are around 500 t-shirts which the firm is having. So it is an unplanned accumulation of the inventories with the firm. The firm has planned to sell more. I am just reminding and I am just emphasizing so that you understand once again that the firm had 100 t-shirts before. It had produced 1000 t-shirts, it wanted to sell 1000, only 600 are sold, so it is left with 500 t-shirts. Here on the other side, unplanned big accumulation of inventories, the firm has decided to sell more than 1000 t-shirts, 1000 t-shirts. That means 1050, the firm has decided that it will sell some 1050 t-shirts. So, it sells 50 t-shirts out of the inventory. The firm has produced 1000 t-shirts, but the sale is more. The t-shirts are demanded in the market are 1050. So, it had an inventory of 100 which was there, that is a old stock. So, what the firm will do? The firm will take 50 t-shirts from that old stock and it will sell 1050. The sale is more, unexpected increase in the sale. The sale of the t-shirt is more here, the firm is selling more here. So, it had produced 1000 t-shirt, sale is 1050. So, what the firm has done? The firm will take the 50 t-shirts from the previous stock which was there, that is 100 t-shirts which it was having as an unsold stock, and it will sell 1050. So, the balance that the firm will have is only 50 t-shirts will remain. That means 1000 t-shirts it has produced minus 1050 is the unexpected increase in the sale. The sale is more of the t-shirt plus 100 which was the old inventory it had. So, minus 50 plus 100, the firm is left with the 50 t-shirts. The next concept is about the planned accumulation. So, what is the meaning of planned accumulation? Here the firm had planned properly. The firm has decided that it is going to increase the inventories from 100 t-shirts to 200 t-shirts. The firm already had 100 t-shirts. The firm has decided that it will increase the number of t-shirts from 100 to 200 t-shirts. So, it produces 1000 t-shirts plus 100 extra t-shirts it produces. So, 1000 t-shirts plus 100 extra t-shirts it produces because it has decided to increase the inventories, and the firm will sell 1000 t-shirts as it is planned. So, planned accumulation means firm has actually planned to sell 1000 t-shirts. Firm has decided to increase the number of inventories from 100 to 200. So, 1100 the firm has increased the output. It sells 1000 t-shirts and 100 t-shirts are remaining with it. That means the new stock that the firm will have 100 plus the previous 100, that means 200 t-shirts will remain with the firm. That is called as a planned accumulation of t-shirts. So, just look here, 1000, here unplanned 1000 t-shirts it has produced. It has expected to sell 1000. It had sold only 600. 100 was the inventories that the firm had. So, it is left with 500 t-shirts here. This it has expected to sell 1000, but sale is more 1050, and it has taken the 50 t-shirts from the previous stock and it is left with the only 50 t-shirts. About the measurement of the gross domestic products, the three methods which we must keep it in mind is the product method, expenditure method, and also the value added method. These are the three methods which we take into consideration. Let us understand first as to what is the meaning of this product method and what is the meaning of the income method or the expenditure method. Product method is nothing but a commodity which is being produced in the market. Suppose we take into consideration, this method is also called as an value added method. To take an example, suppose there are two firms who are there in the market. When we are speaking about the value added method, these are the firm X as well as Y. So, we are learning about the first method to calculate the national income or to measure the national income, and in this method the first method is called as the product method or the value added method. So, when we speak about the product method or the value added method, to study it in a proper form, let us take an example that there are only two forms. So, which are those forms? These forms are nothing else as form X as well as form Y. So, there are two forms, form X as well as the form Y. Now, what are they producing? The form X is producing cotton. For an example, the form X is producing cotton. It has not used any intermediate commodity. We have studied about the different types of commodities under the classifications of the board. So, this form X, which has produced cotton, it has not used any raw materials and it has produced cotton. That is the final product it has produced. After producing this cotton, what does this firm do? The firm X goes to the firm Y and sells this cotton to firm Y, and since it has not used any intermediate commodity, so the total earning of the firm X is 50 rupees. What do the firm Y do? The firm Y makes cloth from this cotton, and after making a cloth of this cotton, the firm sells it to the consumer, to the final customer by charging rupees 200. So, the total value which is added of starting from the cotton which was sold by firm X, which was only 50 rupees, it has gone and it has increased. The value of this commodity has come finally to the customer who is buying this cloth by paying 200 rupees. So, see here, value added method we have taken into considerations. There are two forms. There are the forms X as well as the form Y, and X uses no raw materials. It has not used any raw materials and it has produced the cotton worth rupees 50, and X sells the cotton to Y. What do the X do? The X will sell the cotton to the Y, and Y produces a cloth and the Y firm sells this cloth to finally consumer by charging rupees 200 rupees. So, that is the value which is being earned by the Y firm. So, the formula for the value added is equal to sales minus intermediate commodity. What is the sale? How much commodity is being sold minus which are the intermediate goods? What is the meaning of intermediate goods? Intermediate goods are nothing but the raw materials which is being used by the firm in the process of production. So, the firm Y uses the raw material. By using cotton, it produces the shirt and it has paid also for it. Let us understand it in a more proper form. So, when we speak about this method, under this value added method, we have X firm as well as we have Y firm. X firm sells cotton by charging rupees 50. So, what is the money that the X firm gets? The value which is added by the X firm is 50 rupees. It has not used any intermediate commodities. Please remember, my dear students, when we are speaking about value added, so how much value which is being added? So, firm X sells cotton by selling this cotton of 50 rupees. There is no intermediate commodity which is used by firm X, so it gets 50 rupees. On the other hand, the firm X sells cotton to Y, and Y will, the total sale of Y is 200 because the Y is selling from cotton. The Y has made a cloth and he has sold this cloth to the customer by charging 200 rupees. Now, what is the intermediate commodity that the Y has used? The Y has used here as a cotton. So, for cotton, the Y has paid 50 rupees to X. So, 50 is the intermediate commodity, that is cotton, which is used as a raw material. So, when we minus this 50 from the 200 amount which the Y has sold the shirt, so the total value added of Y will be 150. So, Y will get 150 as the value added and X will get 50 rupees as the value added. Why 50 rupees for the X? Because X has not used any raw materials in the process of production. whereas Y has used cotton as the process of production. So, when he has sold the shirt, when he has sold the cloth to the customers, he has charged 200 rupees, but in this 200 rupees, the Y has to deduct this 50 rupees which is used as an intermediate commodity as the raw material. So, 150 rupees is the total benefit that the Y will get, the Y firm will get, which is called as a value added. The formula for the value added is sales. How much is the sale he has done of 200 minus intermediate commodity? What is minus we have to do? We have to minus this 50 rupees for the cotton which the Y has paid. So, when we minus this 50 rupees, so what is the balance? The value added of Y is 150 rupees. Expenditure method. The next method that we have to study is what is the money that is being spent by the customer in buying the commodity. So, when we speak about the customer, here the producers are the two firms that we have taken into consideration. They are the X firm and they are the Y firm. So, when these are the two firms X as well as Y, so what is the expenditure? Who is spending the money here? The actual expenditure will be done by the customer. The consumer or the customer is spending 200 rupees to buy a cloth. He goes to the market and he is buying the cloth from the market. So, how much money actually he is paying? Actually, he is paying 200 rupees. So, when we speak about the methods of measuring gross domestic product, the total output which is produced in an economy, by taking into consideration about the three methods which we are studying. The second method which states about the expenditure method, which says that how much money that the customer has spent. The customer has spent 200 rupees in buying the cloth. When he is going to the market, he is the one who is bearing all the expenses. He is bearing the expenses of the intermediate commodity, that is a cotton, and he is also bearing the expenses of buying a cloth, and he is spending 200 rupees to get a cloth. How much is the income now that is being earned by the firm X as well as firm Y? When we speak about the income method, we have to understand as to what is the income which is being earned by X firm as well as the Y firm. So, to start with, X as well as the Y firms are there. Now, when they are producing this cotton, when we speak about the intermediate commodities, it means that what are the raw materials that the firm is using. It also means as to, in this process of production, the firm has to also pay the wages to the workers. Those workers who are working in an organization, the firm has to make the payments to those workers, and that is called as the wages. So, firm X, when we take, it has paid 20 rupees as the wages. It had cotton, it has produced cotton. The cotton amount that the firm X we have studied in the value added is 50. In producing cotton, it has not used any raw materials, it has used the labors. So, for the labors, the firm is paying the wages. So, how much wages the firm is paying is around 20 rupees. So, this 20 rupees is the wages that it has paid. So, what is the actual profit that the firm X is making? The actual profit of the firm is rupees 30. I hope you are understanding. We are studying about the methods of measuring the gross domestic product. So, how are we measuring the gross domestic products and what are the different methods? There are three methods which we take into consideration: value added method, or production method, or expenditure method, and the income method. So, when we speak about the income method, so what is the income that the firms are getting? In our example, we have taken into consideration two firms, firm X as well as firm Y. So, firm X has produced cotton of 50 rupees. To produce this cotton, the firm X has paid the wages to the workers, that is around 20 rupees. So, the actual profit that the firm X is getting is only 30 rupees. When we speak about the firm Y, the firm Y has given the wages of 60 rupees to the workers, and the actual profit of the firm Y is 90 rupees. It is earning 90 rupees by paying 60 rupees as the wages to the workers. So, this way we will find that we can calculate the gross domestic product by using 3 methods which are called as the income method, expenditure method and also the product or the value added method.